What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. So this is my official predictions video for the 2020 Academy Awards. These are all of my selections, and I'll talk about how we're going to present this here in just a second. So if I get them all wrong, you're going to know. There's no hiding this from you guys. I am going to admit, though, I'm not very good at this, right? These are just what I believe will win and should win. And that's what we're doing here today is I'm giving you two different versions for each category. So version number one, I will tell you what I believe will win that specific category. And version number two is what I believe should win. That's not necessarily what everyone believes should win, but my personal choices. But when you're predicting, when you're trying to figure out who's going to win what, you have to kind of separate those two things. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, and I'll make it very clear visually which is in which category. So I need you down below. What are your predictions for every category? Focus on the major categories if you want to, but definitely Best Picture, all of those. And if you guys enjoy these Oscar videos, if you want more, and if you'd like to see me cover the Screen Actors Guild Awards that are taking place this Sunday, be sure to smash that thumbs up button and definitely let me know. I will do that if you guys would like to see it. Okay, I want to get into these, and I have a list laid out clearly so you guys can see what is nominated for each specific category. Now, on this list, you will not see a couple of categories. All of the shorts, I don't have enough information to give you guys selections on those categories. And I'm not going to go in depth on documentary because there are a few documentaries I still need to see. If I had to choose one, I would choose American Factory, so that's my official prediction. But just not as informed, so I don't feel right giving you guys predictions. But what we are starting with today is Best Original Screenplay. Now, going through these and selecting, predicting what would win and what should win actually ended up being a bit easier than what I anticipated. Some of these predictions will be hard, but there are a few categories that I find just locks. But for something like screenplay, I don't see any of these in either of these two categories as locks. So for my who will win selection, man, I was torn between Parasite and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Way back when, I would have said Marriage Story, but the tide has shifted just a tad bit. I know a lot of people will say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. For what will win, though, I think Parasite wins this. I think people look at that screenplay and say, you know what? It deserves to get it. If I'm going with what should win, both screenplays are obviously fantastic, but I believe Parasite could rack up in other categories, so I would give this to Marriage Story just because I honestly think this is the only award it has a chance of winning. I don't think it does it. I think it's either Once Upon a Time or Parasite, but I am selecting Parasite for this category. And then Adapted Screenplay. This one is definitely tough. I think all of these have a good shot. Maybe The Two Popes, not the biggest chance in the world, but the other four for sure. So for what will win, I'm actually going to go with Little Women. I think because Greta Gerwig got the snub in the directing category, I think they give it to her here. Not to say it's not a fantastic screenplay, because it absolutely is. But for what should win, and I know a lot of people are going to say Austin's going to go with The Irishman because Austin prefers The Irishman. That's the movie I would place above. But in terms of just the screenplay, if we're looking at this category in particular, my choice for what should win is actually Jojo Rabbit. The balance, for me, is what is so special. The fact that they managed to balance comedy and the fact that this is a movie about Hitler, but then you have the gut punch in the third act and all of the emotions spread throughout that film. That is the definition of a fantastic screenplay. It's definitely going to be tough, but I think Little Women takes it. Next up, we have some pretty important categories. Let's start visual effects. And you guys, it's nominated for one award. I think it gets this award. 1917 will come very close to taking this. Lion King does have a shot, absolutely, but this is Endgame's award. I think Endgame will win. I think Endgame should win. You guys know I really enjoy this movie, so I want it to win something. Maybe that's my personal bias coming in, but I do think that they give it to the only nomination that it ended up getting. So, yeah, visual effects for me is not a lock, but it's very close to that. Sound mixing, and I'm actually going to scroll up a little bit and talk about both of these because they're very similar. Over the last couple of years, it feels like sometimes we get two separate films winning this category, but you look at last year, Bohemian Rhapsody ended up taking both of these, and I feel like that's the case every single year. So just going to state it right now, for both of these categories, I think 1917 ends up winning. So for will win, 1917, sound mixing, sound editing, just because that's the way it tends to go. Right? Now, if you're asking, Austin, what is the difference between sound mixing and sound editing? I have a beautiful comparison here, and it's actually written out, so I'm just going to read it, so this will help you and honestly help me understand it a bit more. For sound editing, it's like the equivalent to taking a picture and then changing it to make it look better with a filter, rotating it, cropping it. With sound mixing, you take that photograph, you put it into Photoshop, and then you add elements like text, a colored background, and more images. So basically what they're saying here is editing is the basic piece. Mixing is putting all of those pieces together to make a seamless product. And because of that, I think sound mixing should go to Ford v. Ferrari just because of what they had to do to bring all of those pieces together in that film. And it's no different from 1917. I'm not saying this is so much further above 1917, but Ford v. Ferrari gets it for me for what should win for sound mixing. And then sound editing, I would lean towards Ford v. Ferrari possibly, but I would also give that to 1917 because it's more in the moment and bringing those things together around the basic subject seems like it was a more difficult task. But at the end of the day, I think both of these awards go to 1917. But Ford v. Ferrari, a close second in both categories. And next up, Achievement in Production Design. We have some incredible nominees here. I do believe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes this just because you look at the setting, it's Hollywood, you look at everyone voting, and most likely the majority voting in this category have either lived in Los Angeles or live, and they'll see that and they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's very accurate, and it is. And I'm not saying that it's not deserving of this award. If I had to pick one, I would personally choose Parasite. I think the production design in Parasite, while subtle at times, really captures the difference between the upper class and the lower class, and really the middle class, and it's beautiful all the way around. And that house, the main setting for Parasite, that production design was just incredible. And I do think some of it's like amplified by the cinematography and the editing, all those things. But man, Parasite, if this is one award, I hope it gets that would surprise a lot of people. I do think this is production design. So let's move on to Achievement in Music written for a motion picture, aka a song. And I have no doubt in my mind that this goes to, even though I'm not as confident in this category because I don't know as much, I just feel like they're going to give it to Rocket Man for this wonderful song with Elton and Bernie going on stage to accept this. How cool would that be? And how cool would that be for this movie that was absolutely wonderful? You know, if I had to choose one which should win, even though I didn't love this movie, I thought the movie was pretty good. I would probably go to Into the Unknown, Frozen 2, just because I was humming it and thinking about it and singing it in my head a little bit more than the Rocket Man song, but they're both close for me. They're both really, really good songs, so it's really hard to distinguish the two. Next up, once again, Achievement in Music written for motion pictures, but this is the score as opposed to the song. And my goodness, I love these nominees. We talked about snubs in my snub video, and I don't think Endgame was technically a snub, but I would love to have seen Silvestri's score in there, one of my personal favorites of the year. But out of the ones presented, I had such a tough time choosing between 1917 and Joker, but at the end of the day, I gots to go with Joker. Joker. This is my favorite score of the year. I have decided. I think it will win. I think it should win. This composer, she is going places, man. I cannot wait to see what she does next. She did Chernobyl and Joker in the same year. Just think about that. Think about this resume going into a job interview. Well, actually, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see this most likely win because I think everyone's in agreement that that score played almost like a character in that film. That's how wonderful it was. So, achievement in makeup and hairstyling. This one is a bit easier for me. I think this one goes to Bombshell in both categories. I think Bombshell will win. I think Bombshell should win just because what they did for these three main actresses to make them look like their respective characters. But then John Lithgow, I mean, anytime you got a fat suit in a movie, most likely it's going to do very well in that category. But makeup and hairstyling, if anyone would sweep in and take it, possibly Judy, but I see Bombshell taking that in that category just because that's the category. I believe that's the category that Suicide Squad won. That's right, folks. Oscar-winning movie, Suicide Squad. Say what you will about the film, but the makeup and hairstyling was pretty good. Best international feature film. This is the Parasite category. No doubt. I don't think in anyone's mind, Parasite. I haven't checked Gold Derby yet. I've not even looked because I wanted to do my list before they had their list. But I am sure the odds of Parasite winning are ridiculous. No offense to any of these other films, but come on. Two of my personal favorite categories: film editing, directing. Film editing is awesome, man. It's so awesome. A few films I would have liked to have seen in this category, but you can't fault the ones that were nominated. I think these are some of the best edited movies of the year. For me, it is very close between... Okay, for what should win, it's very close between Parasite and Ford v. Ferrari. What will win? I'm struggling with Irishman and Ford v. Ferrari. At the end of the day, I think I'm going to go Ford v. Ferrari. I don't know if that's the favorite. Not the movie The Favorite. I don't know if that is the favorite to win. But Ford v. Ferrari is what I pick for what will win, man. I just think you look at that film and what amplifies it, what makes it go. It's the way these racing scenes were edited together. Yes, great cinematography and great performances from Bale and Damon, but when you feel this movie move, man, it moves at such a brisk pace, and a lot of that is the direction from Mangold, but film editing, that's the category I see Ford v. Ferrari taking, and I think that's the one that it should take. I would put it slightly over Parasite, but Parasite is a brilliant film, so it's really hard to decide, but Ford v. Ferrari I would choose in both of those categories. And then achievement in directing. Gosh, guys. This is hard. This is hard because I think a lot, and here's how I see this category going. I'm going to be honest with you. I think whoever takes this category maybe doesn't end up winning Best Picture. We've seen it go that way a couple of times in the past. Sadly, I say that, and my choice to win is Bong Joon-ho. Quentin Tarantino has a great shot. Sam Mendes has a great shot to win this category, but I think Bong Joon-ho takes it. I think he deserves to take it as well. I believe this is who should win. You look at how this film is constructed. You look at the fact that this movie is unlike anything prior and how this could have easily fallen on its face. And even the twists and turns that it takes in the third act without spoiling the film. This is something that I think could have easily been a major bust because of how outlandish it gets. But he keeps everything under control. He keeps his actors in check. And Bong Joon-ho just dominates when it comes to directing this film. And while he doesn't dominate this category, I think Mendes and Tarantino have a shot. Bong Joon-ho is definitely my choice. So we're getting closer and closer to the end. Achievement in costume design. I believe Little Women takes this award. I just think you look at the film and you look how many dresses and the way that they were dressed in the timely manner, capturing the feel of the film. I think it absolutely takes this award. But Jojo Rabbit could swoop in and save the day just because of, you're capturing the time in Germany. You're capturing the Nazi look and feel to a lot of these characters. So if I had to choose who should win, I would actually go with Jojo Rabbit just because I just found this to look and feel so authentic and accurate, maybe even more so than Little Women, but I do believe Little Women takes it. Either way, those two are my personal favorites in that category. Achievement in cinematography, this one is very, very easy. It's great to see The Lighthouse in there. I was astounded with the cinematography in Joker, and The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood look great, but this is 1917's to win. If there is a lock for 1917, I would absolutely say it's cinematography. This is Deakins, and I can't wait to see him get his another Oscar. Best animated feature film. Let's scroll to right there. This one's tough because if there's one category where I feel like someone could swoop in and shock a lot of people, like A Missing Link, like a How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon caps off the franchise, in my opinion, even more so than Toy Story 4 because you had the set trilogy, and this isn't a spin-off film, but it doesn't feel as in the trilogy as How to Train Your Dragon, which is obviously the capper to a trilogy. I'm going Toy Story 4 will win, and honestly, I think Toy Story 4 should win, but keep in mind, I am such an advocate for Klaus, and I Lost My Body. If Klaus wins, I don't think it has a shot at winning, but oh, my body I would melt. I think I would melt. But Toy Story 4 just slightly is my favorite animated film of the year, but man, that's a tough category to call because you never know what's going to happen. Next up, performance by an actress in a supporting role. This, for me, is going to go to Laura Dern. Laura Dern takes this. She's been racking up the awards. The acting categories are a bit more simplified this year. I just think they're so easy to call. If I had to choose who would win, or who should win, in my opinion, ScarJo, you close, but I'm going with Florence Pugh in Little Women. Florence Pugh stole this movie, man. She was so wonderful and emotional, and that one scene where Chalamet's screaming to her out the window, and she's got the scrape, I'm like, this girl, and maybe it just has to do with everything she's done this year, but man, she's so good. I think it goes to Laura Dern, though, absolutely. Next up, performance by an actress in a leading role. This one is actually less tough. This one, to me, is one of the locks at this point. And I hate to say that because, well, I'll get into it in just a second, but Renee Zellweger is who will win this category. She's won. She keeps winning. She keeps getting nominated. I just think that's the one. That's a big lock for me. But Scarlett Johansson is my choice for Marriage Story. I just thought what she did in that film was phenomenal. She swept me off my feet. I think the story could have focused on her a tad bit more in that third act, but she was oh so good, and her emotion is magnificent in that film. Performance by an actor in a supporting role. This one is Brad Pitt's. This one's Brad Pitt's to lose. I think he will win this just because he's been consistently winning. When I choose my choice for the will win category, once again, I try to keep personal bias out of it because I want to be as right as possible. Brad Pitt just keeps on winning. Now, who should win? You know, a couple weeks ago, I would have said Al Pacino. Ha! Because Pesci's very close, but Pacino in The Irishman really knocked my socks off. But the more I think about Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood and the subtlety that he brought, the more I just want him to win, man. Really, the more I want him to win. Who should win? Willem Dafoe. But he didn't get nominated. Tom Hanks is my choice in this category. Performance by an actor in a lead role. I think we all know who's going to take this. Joaquin takes it. I think Joaquin should take it. This is easy for me. This is really easy. Although I loved Adam Driver in Marriage Story. Adam Driver is my clear second place in this category. He just knocked my socks off. I think he'll have more opportunities in the future, but it's nice to see him nominated. Yeah, Joaquin takes this award. We'll have to see what kind of speech he gives, though, because I'm curious. And we're here. Best Motion Picture of the Year nominees. And this category is more stacked than it has been in probably a decade. This category holds movies that I love, movies that I cherish, not really any movies that I don't like. I've said it multiple times in every single video. This is the first time in a long time that I'm seeing all these movies nominated. I'm just like, yep, yep. This is the toughest call. This is the one that I think is up for grabs, and honestly, there are so many movies that could win this. So let's go in order of what films I think have the best opportunity. At the bottom, I'm going to say Little Women, and then Marriage Story, and then Ford v. Ferrari. In my opinion, they have the smallest chance of winning this award. And no disrespect to any of these films, there's just not been a lot of talk around any kind of Best Picture for those movies. Not a lot of chatter, and they could definitely take other awards. Marriage Story for screenplay, Little Women for screenplay, Ford v. Ferrari possibly for editing. Other opportunities for these films to win awards. Next up, I have The Irishman. Now, Austin, why are you putting Jojo Rabbit and Joker, which are my next two, above The Irishman? Here's why I do that. Just because The Irishman is a movie that I just feel like has lost steam and lost momentum. And once again, this is not an order of my favorites. That's a separate video on my channel. But the momentum going into this award show is just nowhere near what some of these other films are at. And then, of course, Jojo Rabbit. Here is, for me, the wild card. I feel Jojo Rabbit is the most similar, not in story, not in tone, not in terms of the narrative, but the most similar to Green Book last year. What happened last year? Green Book is this feel-good movie. Now, I do think more people in the industry appreciate Jojo Rabbit for what it is, maybe a tad bit more divisive because of what it's dealing with, but I feel like this film may even be more beloved than Green Book. But Jojo Rabbit is that perfect mix of crowd-pleasing and everyone in Hollywood seems to really love it. You could argue that for Ford v Ferrari, but there is much more steam for Jojo Rabbit right now. Jojo got nominated for more awards than Ford v Ferrari, whether it's the screenplay nod or just the fact that everyone is still talking about the perfect balance between humor and all of the emotion in the film like I talked about earlier. But if there is a wild card here, and when I say that, I mean, don't be surprised if Jojo Rabbit wins Best Picture. Just don't be surprised, because it is the most crowd-pleasing film of the bunch, and we've seen that before. The crowd-pleasing movies sometimes tend to take it even when people don't expect it, aka a Green Book. And then the film I have actually above that is Joker, and here's why. 11 nominations. 11 nominations. People in the industry seem to really support this film, and really the fact that it has the most talk surrounding it. Not a lot of people are giving Joker a real shot to win this thing. I have it in my 4th spot of what could possibly win. Now, here's one that may shock some people. A lot of people are saying Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has the best shot to win Best Picture, and I can't necessarily agree with that, because as I scroll down to this Achievement in Film Editing nominee list, Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Parasite. Did you hear that? Jojo Rabbit, Joker, and Parasite. The only film to win Best Picture over the last, what did they say, 15, 20 years? Something like that. The only film to win Best Picture and not be nominated for film editing was Birdman. What was the trope within Birdman? Oh, well, that's a one-take film. Very similar to 1917. So I still think 1917 has a good shot, even though it wasn't nominated for editing. But the fact that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't get nominated for editing, and it really doesn't have any previous history to back the fact that it could win Best Picture, and maybe that's just a random statistic. But that is something that I don't know if everyone's looking at and saying, oh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, less of a shot now. And maybe the tide possibly shifting more towards a Joker and maybe even a Parasite, and obviously 1917, which I feel like everyone is starting to talk about. Maybe that's to the detriment of a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Still think it has a fair shot. I think my top 3 choices, any one of them has the most likely chance to win. But that's my reasoning for putting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at 3. At 2, I want to put Parasite there, just because if it wins foreign film, especially if Bong Joon-ho wins director, I just don't know if they give it to Parasite. We saw it with Roma last year. Everyone, or a lot of people, agreed that that film got snubbed. I think Parasite is a far superior film to that film, but I still think it gets shortchanged because I think 1917 wins Best Picture. That's what I believe will win. Austin, 1917 is your favorite movie of the year. Austin, you think it's going to win? Obviously. You think it should win, right? No. I think Parasite should win. Even though 1917 is my favorite movie of the year, that is the difference. That is the way that you distinguish your favorite movie of the year and the best movie of the year. I think the best movie of the year should win Best Picture every single year. And for me, the best movie of the year all the way around. Story-wise, directing, technically, everything, I think should push that to win Best Picture, even though it's not my favorite movie of the year. Imagine that. So 1917 will win. Parasite, I believe, should win, but don't be shocked if it's any of those other 3. That's it, guys. That's my list. Those are my predictions for all of the nominees that I think I had a fair shot at guessing towards. There are a few that I left off, but I would love to see your thoughts down below. If you enjoy these videos, if you want this kind of stuff more often, and if you're excited for my awards show, which I guess I just announced it. If you're sticking around to this video, let me know in the comments down below. It's going to be different than last year. It is not the Flick Fan Awards. Much different. Much less time I have to invest this time around. But I am going to leave the decisions up to you. So get excited. Definitely hit that thumbs up button if you want more things like that. And if you're excited for my own personal award show, you are truly the best. I'll see you soon.